now that you know about variables and functions, let's talk about functions as variables. Now, if you're coming from a language like C++ or maybe even Zig or something like that, some of these low-level languages, you probably just gasped like, what? Functions as variables? Well, it can sometimes be quite powerful. For example, let's say you need the same function. This is just a normal function declaration. Const multiply is equal to function. Then the values are the number and the factor, and we return the num times the factor. Now you can just use this like a regular function, multiply, and then num is 2 times 2, and there you have it. Now if we run this code, it's just going to return 2 times 2, uh, and 4, yeah. But now let's say you want to create a function that always has a specified number, but you want to create multiple of them. So let's say instead of writing the full function for multiply, you return a const multiply is equal to function, and you just have a value and you return a function. So you return a function, and that function takes in a parameter of factor and returns no val times factor. Now if I use this, I can either use it as another factor, another function. So I think you can do multiply 5 and yeah, and 6. So this is just a normal multiply. But where the real power comes in is you can set a value to a factor. Oh, let factor equal multiply, and then you add a value. So let's say 5. Now, factor is now this function we defined here. So basically, it's the same as saying factor equal function factor return 5 times factor, because you then uh you then uh added 5 as the value, so whenever you use factor now, it will always multiply with 5. So to show this in action, let's just do console.log, then we do factor, and 5 times 5, 25, 5 times 2 is 10, and then 5 times 3 is 15. So there we go. So now you made a permanent state variable inside of a function that is also changeable. So let's say you want to change this to factor 5, 5, 5, 5, and you want to add another one called factor 3. Then you can just multiply 3, and then it will always multiply by 3. So let's just change this one to 3, and then that should be 9. So this is really powerful in some cases. Most of the time you won't use it, and you'll just use regular functions, except if you like this syntax more. But where you define a function as a variable, just remember const, because you can, if it's a let, you can change it because it's a changeable. So you can basically change the function. So factor 5 is now going to be equal to multiply 8. So you just have to be careful about that, because then it changes the function added inside. So whenever you have an important variable, then just remember to add an important function as a variable, just remember to add const. But you can also use this changeability of variables as an advantage, because maybe you want to return a specific function um, from a function with a specific input, uh, so that the function matches your use case. So this is gonna be a nice one. Function, and we're gonna do return underscore test, and then we're just gonna add a test. Then I can, if test is equal to 1 plus 1, then we can return return 1 plus 1, return a function that has a value, and then return val plus val is equal to 2. So this is a really bad example, but now you have to add the input 1 plus 1 into test, and then it will return the function to check if the value plus the value is equal to 2. So you can see how this could be useful in larger code bases. Usually in small projects like these, not really that useful, but in larger use cases, then it's very helpful and very very usable. Now, there is another specific way you can define functions, and it's a little weird, but it's still valid syntax. So add is equal to, then we define the values val1 and val2, and then we use this right here to to specify the function body. Val1 plus val2. I prefer the function as it is more verbose and shows you that you are doing a function declaration, whereas this is doesn't specifically show you it's a function. You should just know that this means function, which can become quite confusing in larger code bases. But some people prefer this. I prefer function. It's all about your specific style. Now, um, now you don't have to add this as a the colon at the end as it is a block, but just for nicety's sake, it is a good idea to add the colon. Now, thank you for watching, and bye bye.